Hello, hello. I am Karen Jean-François.
And I'm Cecilia Oliveira.
And this is the Women in Data podcast.
Every other week, we bring you conversations with inspiring women who are shaping the world of data.
We dive into stories, explore challenges, and share insights and learning to help you navigate your own career in this exciting field.
And sometimes it's just the two of us, candidly chatting about our experience or topics we're curious about. Let's get straight to it. Hi, everyone. It's Cecilia here, the Women in Data podcast. Now, everyone knows that I love a good careers transition story. There's something inspiring about seeing people take their skills, pivot into something new, and thrive. I love it. Obviously, I've done that, and I love seeing other people doing it. And today's episode is really about that. So I'm here with Celine Liu, who went from coaching and the nonprofit world to leading global analytics. Her journey really is proof that data is one of the most transferable skills out there. No matter where you start, understanding and working with data can open doors in any industry. And man, I wish I knew that before I started my career in data. So in this episode, we'll explore how to leverage your existing skills in data, why data literacy is essential for any role, and how you can take your career to the next level. And of course, please stay until the end of the episode because Celine is going to share her top 3 tips to unlock the power of analytics. So let's get straight into it. Celine, can I ask you to introduce yourself, please?
Amazing. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Celine. Super excited and pumped to be here to really share my journey and really listen to everyone that who might have similar struggle as Cecilia just shared about my career transition journey. But yeah, right now I'm in Toronto. So my previous role was at Uber, where I lead a team of global data analytics professional under the measurement science advertising department. I would say my main role was to definitely do a lot of performance reports where you can imagine leading a team, but at the same time, really to helping the advertising on Uber to help them measure their performance success. So Cecilia, do you use Uber at all?
More than I probably should, yeah.
Okay. So you might see ads, right, appear on your app. So yeah, we basically helping those advertisers to measure their success, what's the return on investment, etc. So that's kind of the main mandate for my last role at Uber. But yeah, before I pivoted to Uber, as Cecilia mentioned, I was in the non-for-profit space where I mainly focusing on mental health and wellness for a couple of years. And I have always been a life and career coach. Even now, I also do like part-time coaching, career coaching to really help young professionals pivot career into data or any field they would love to be connected with. But yeah, I agree with you. This is 100% like data. I would say is one of the most transferable skills that I encourage everyone to really learn because there are just a lot of opportunity out there that we cannot really make strategic decision without data. But yeah, that's pretty much my background.
Cool. I think that if I had met you maybe 4.5, 5 years ago, that would have been so beneficial to my transition. And, you know, with you being a career coach and working in data, I mean, I would have loved to have this conversation, but hey, never too late for someone else.
Absolutely.
So I mentioned in the beginning, you know, the transferable skills. Can you share with me of 3 skills that you think would be essential when we're talking about entering the data world, and that's not exclusively data?
Absolutely. So for anyone who wanted to pivot your own career to data, or you're already in the data analytics field and wanted to pivot your career to something else, right? Let's say product manager or data scientist, there are a few things that I really see underlying beneath all the roles, especially in the tech world. So first of all is communication, right? You might hear this already in a lot of other podcasts or blog article. Oh, everyone talks about communication. But I really wanted to demystify communication a little bit. Like when I really talking about communication, it's coming down to your everyday job, right? So for example, are you able to ask clarifying question either with your manager or your peers about a task you need to be finished? Or are you able to not over promising but under deliver, right? Or are you able to communicate your insight in a way that does not generate misunderstanding or misleading conclusion, right? So when we talk about communication, it's really coming down to the day-to-day. It doesn't mean that you have to use fancy words in your meeting to represent who you are or the work you do. It's really about just clarity and being able to get things done at an effective and collaborative manner. So yeah, I think communication is definitely the key. So the next one I would say it will be strategic thinking. This is a skill that I think it comes from your professional experience. When we just fresh graduate from college, we might not even know what that strategic thinking means. And sometimes people say, oh, you need to be more strategic. Like, oh, okay, where do I start? But one thing I wanted to mention is I try to not make strategic a word that, again, like super fancy and you need to make those very good points and some big ideas that really struck everyone. Like that's not what I mean by strategic. Strategic is more about understanding not just the what, but also asking the why behind each decision. Or let's say your manager give you a task to do, and a person with good work ethic, may just, I will do this XYZ and I will get back to you on this date. But a strategic person might say, oh, who is this for? Can I ask more clarifying question? Why do we need it? Is there anyone already done this before that we can leverage, right? I think those will already build your strategic thinking. And this is,
yes.
yeah, right? Yeah. So because one of my team member, when I was still at Uber, asked me, hey, Celine, can you coach me about how can I be more strategic? That's exactly kind of the advice I give to him. Like whenever I give him something to do not just take it as face value, but challenge it with backed evidence or just asking questions. If you don't know ways to challenge it, maybe just asking question to understand a little bit more will also help you to complete this task more efficiently. So I think strategic thinking is definitely one of the things I see. No matter if you're already in data industry or you wanted to pivot to data, like this is number one skill that everyone needs to really pick up. And the last piece, I would say business acumen. Again, this is a big word, right? Communication, strategic thinking, business acumen.
Yeah.
But I do want to kind of demystify and really deconstruct a little bit for the audience here. So when I say business acumen, it's really understanding the business model. Cecilia, you mentioned I was in the non-for-profit space for a while. Actually, I funded my own non-for-profit for mental health back then. So it's really like running a organization or like a startup. So at that time, I did had a lot of thinking around how do I build a product or how do I build a model that really work for the organization that I'm serving. So that really helped me to gain that business acumen or just organization acumen. And translating into the professional world is very important for everyone, whether or not you're in a 9-to-5 job or you're doing your own kind of entrepreneurial stuff. It's important to really know how your daily task is connected to business value, right? Am I driving revenue? Am I driving better customer experience? Those will help you to think through like, hey, what are the things I can do more to really help the company to grow? Sometimes we don't think about it. Like we just think, we are just hired as someone to do certain tasks at certain department. But it's very important to really understand that ecosystem, who you work with, what business unit you're under, what is the KPI or metrics that shape the team that you're working with, or even the organization where we are heading. By understanding those questions will really amplify our business acumen. And by the way, all those three things I just shared is exactly what I am looking for when I was hiring at Uber. So people with really good communication, strategic thinking, and business acumen are some of the top skills that we wanted to emphasize and bring people in whenever we see that.
And I think that what's important is also, when we think about data position, we always think, you need to have all of those technologies under your belt and things like that. This is things that you don't really need, but you do need to work on them. It's also a muscle that you need to work on, the asking of questions, the making sure your communication can only get better if you don't feel that your communication is very good right now. The business acumen, just being interested in the business that you're working in, how much value you're bringing to your company. This is all pretty easily available, let's say. You don't need to learn a new coding language, or you don't need to learn a new app, or you don't need to create a new dashboard for it. You just need to have exchange with people within your company.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I was struck by some of the people, for example, who apply to Uber or previous company I work with where I interviewed. Sometimes they forget like this is important. They may focus more on, how do I just write the SQL code in a way that is perfect instead of really thinking about what I'm really doing. Like by writing one more line of code, what business problem does it solve or not solve, right? Like those things are critically important. And I would say, Cecilia, you're absolutely right. Like those are the information that we can, with talking to people, really learn, be curious. Like that's the skill we can pick up. At the same time, I think all the skills like SQL, potentially Python, data visualization, those are kind of a table stake, right? Oh, you need to definitely know this. But beyond that, we're actually looking for people, or those are the skills that I think absolutely critical for people who want to thrive in day-to-day job they're doing.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I think continuing on that, I mean, I think it's also necessary to have some kind of data literacy. And you really realize when you are in companies that don't promote that, sometimes, you see some people struggling to understand what they are looking at and how they approach the data they're given. So there is also a little bit of, let's say, educational, then a type of education that needs to happen within the company.
I totally agree on that. So, and just to share some side personal story, before I graduated, like when I was still at university, I actually worked at different luxurious brand as a sales associate. I think at that time it would really help me to build that communication, even influencing skills, right? When I was working through. But one thing I noticed is data is not really a big part for all those marketing or sales related professionals at the time. And it frustrates me a little bit, right? Oh, we get so much data about either this customer, the preference, the important anniversary, like the dates and all those information. But we don't know how to leverage it. Maybe we are able to leverage it at the individual basis, but we don't know how to leverage at scale. It also what prompts me to later on to really get into the data intensive role. And also usually tech industry are more emphasizing like the data literacy part, at least is potentially a little bit more, I would say, enriched through this industry already. So I don't think much education is needed there. But at the same time, I think there are a lot of industries are still operating with non-data backed decision, right? So, but totally align with you on there.
Yeah. And I think it's quite funny that you mentioned this story because I've had a very similar experience.
Oh.
So I used to work in hospitality, right? And I remember very well. And if some of my old colleagues are listening to this, they will identify themselves where we would have to go through, the sales of the quarter and things like that. And I would have everyone going, I can't understand it. I don't know where to look for, blah, blah, blah. And for me, this was it was a non-stressful task. It was obviously at the time I didn't realize it was me just being comfortable with data. And I didn't realize that at the time. This was 10 years ago. No, more. But, it's quite funny. I've had a similar experience where everyone was pulling their hair out thinking, oh my God, where am I going to get this data? I don't understand those numbers that are in front of me. Whilst actually, it was not that complicated, or we just need to feel more comfortable about it. And that's across industries, if it is in the tech industry, if it is in hospitality or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think there's different ways of doing it. I don't know, maybe you have some idea, but I know that perhaps we didn't have enough training in data at the time or education, like I said. I don't know, maybe the leadership, or there wasn't just a culture of that. It was just about, I was in sales. You do relationship management, and that's that.
Yeah, I think you're definitely spot on with mentioning like the leadership and culture aspect of it, especially in hospitality and sales. We used to be just like point to point. Whoever walked into the store, we wanted to greet them with the best smile and we really help them with the best experience. But beyond that, we don't have that mindset, or leadership does not really yet embrace that as a high priority at that time. And now you see a lot of the big luxury brand are actually acquired by some other bigger brand who knows how to use e-commerce, how to do the online experience, how to leverage those data. So I think you also see that happening in the business world where there are leadership who embrace the data-driven back decision, the way to really analyze, manipulate data. Like whoever embrace those will actually have a advantage in the world in terms of really have a business success. But I totally agree with you. Definitely, like the leadership is one of the key component. Also, sometimes it's really coming down to, again, like the industries, right? Like nonprofit, or I also worked in not just the nonprofit I led, but also I joined other nonprofit before as well, where I also see similar situation where data literacy or data backed decision was not a priority. So, and sometimes those industry may not even have specific data role, right? Data's task was embedded into other roles, which also shows that it's not like a high priority for the industry. So again, like, yeah, industry and the knowledge of the leadership definitely plays a role in how kind of a prominent the data literacy is in those industries.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to think about here, but if we would have to just keep your top 3 tips, top 3, what's the best tips you have for anyone listening to this who wants to unlock the power of analytics? What should they be doing?
Wow, that's a hard question. I only have 3 tips. Okay.
You can only choose 3.
Okay, amazing. First of all, is really to know your niche and know your passion, whether or not you are thinking to transition to data or advance your career in data or transitioning out from data. I think you really need to understand yourself, like what are you good at, what you're passionate about. And Cecilia, the example you shared about how you started to become familiar and comfortable with data was one of the signs that actually led you later, right, to the data analytics field, like similar for me as well. So, but yeah, I think it's very important to understand that your strengths, your value, your needs, and this will help you to shape whichever industry or career path you really wanted to build. And this is like number one critically important step, because I have been coaching people, like they are getting very good salary and they might be top of the rank in terms of their career ladder, but they need to be happy, right? If they're not fulfilled and satisfied and excited about what you're doing, I think that's like something that we all need to think through.
I think that's everywhere, not just in data. In
not
general,
in data.
If you're not satisfied, it's a very grim day.
Absolutely, yeah. But yeah, and I think the second point is probably for people who are already in the data field and wanted to advance their career in data, either to get a senior role or it become a data analytics leadership, right? So I think the next tip will be very relevant for their experience is what I learned definitely from my time at Uber and the previous company will be reframe from a pure builder mindset. So let me unpack this a little bit. Sometimes as a data analytics professional, we're so good at building stuff. We're so good at doing that SQL code, pivot table, visualization. We're pretty drawn to it, right? At least I think you probably as well, right? You get excited about doing all those charts.
I get so excited, it's sad.
Exactly, like getting insights from all the data you're given. And sometimes I started to realize, because when I first joined Uber, I was also embracing that mindset. I produced a tons of reports and build like business MBR, QBR, and presentation and all of that. But later in my career, I started to move away or like be more intentional about before I take action, right? I started to explore more about, what is the importance or urgency of this task? And how do we think about the ecosystem and underlying data structure before we starting to tackle things, right? Give you a more concrete example. Sometimes if we are driving for speed for analysis, we might be compromising on accuracy and also duplication of work. But in addition to that, we might be recreating something that already been done before, right? So those are the things I really wanted to share with whoever wanted to advance their career in data. And maybe take a step back whenever we are given a task and really to think about, kind of lay down the details before we started to think through like, let's just jump in and do it. So that's kind of the second advice I will give for people. I think lastly will be probably applicable to everyone, I would say. I'm not sure if you heard, Cecilia, but there are a lot of people are worried about AI. They're excited.
A little bit, yes.
A little bit.
It fell under my radar at some point, yes.
Yes. I think this fear of being replaced by AI, or what does large language model will really do in our day-to-day, how does it impact our work productivity and workplace, is something that I would say we all need to learn about, like what's really happening, but at the same time, thinking about how does that inform our career decision, our day-to-day job, right? So one thing that I believe is already happening is there are a lot of automation as well as even advanced analytics happening using large language model at certain companies, even like small, medium size, or even large size. I think that's something whoever, either you're in data analytics or in any other role, maybe you want to start to think through what are the repetitive tasks that you are doing day to day. And instead of being replaced passively, but proactively seek potential opportunity to leverage large language model to help you to get more productive and to help you to get ahead of the game. Especially for data analytics people, there are tasks that are relatively mundane, and we might be doing it like day-to-day, daily basis again and again. That's some tasks we might want to already pay attention. Otherwise, it's just a matter of time. There are certain applications will be developed that we might need to start to pivot. So instead of being pivoted away, we wanted to actually pivot towards, right? Like we wanted to be proactive.
Yeah, I think it's about integrating that into your work and making yourself work smarter, right? Because if you're repeating yourself more than twice, it's time to think of a different way to do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fabulous. Okay, cool. Now, let's do quick question and answer moment. So I'm going to ask you 5 questions and you're going to give me the answer super quick. So, what's the most unexpected lesson you've learned in your data career?
Technical skills matter, but soft skills, communication matter even more.
True. Absolutely. I'm with you on that. And if you could give your younger self one piece of career advice, what would it be?
I would say seek support and mentorship early. Like there are people who can always help you.
I think we underestimate how much we should be reaching out to people, but yeah, you're absolutely right. What's a common myth about working in data that you'd like to debunk?
I heard people say, if I don't know Python, I wouldn't be hired as a data analyst. That's not true.
And what's your favorite book, podcast, or any kind of resource?
Book, I would say Designing Your Life by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans is also where I get my coaching certification. Great book. Highly recommend to read through.
Cool. And what's your go-to habit when working on a challenging project?
I will say hi to all the cross-functional team who are working on the project first before I dive into the project. I think in those situations, relationship always matter. And sometimes it will actually take you through the challenging project if you guys are working well together.
Great. Couldn't agree more. Celine, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate having our chat today. And yeah, thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Women in Data podcast.
We will be back in a couple of weeks. Until then, we would be very grateful if you could leave us a rating or a review, as it helps us not only to make the podcast more visible, but also to enhance the content.
And if you don't want to miss the next episode, follow us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We're also on LinkedIn.
Don't forget to register to the Women in Data community. It's free. All you need to do is head to womenindata.co.uk.
Have a great day!